Well, hello everyone. I'm glad you could be here with me today. I wanted to do a postpartum encouragement video. Just something to help you if you are either one day postpartum or you've been postpartum for a year. It really does last a while, and that's okay. I just wanted to give you some thoughts of encouragement. This is baby number 3 for me. He's 3 weeks old now, so he's still pretty new. Say hi to the camera. Not really. I don't like to show my children's faces on here, but I don't mind you seeing their heads, back of their little precious baby heads. You gotta remember, stop and smell the baby heads. I'm just saying. It really does help. There's a lot of studies, well, maybe not a lot. There's a couple studies out there that show how much caressing and smelling your new baby helps with the bonding process. So definitely want to do that in the postpartum period. But I just wanted to share my experience and stuff that kind of helped me out, so maybe it'll help you out too. First, it can be scary, especially if dad's gone back to work and you're by yourself at home with a new baby. If you're a new mom, it's even doubly scary. I remember with my first, she'll be 6 in a couple of months, 6 years ago, but I distinctly remember telling myself it's okay to cry, and I set her down in her little bassinet and I went to the bathroom and I cried for about 2 or 3 minutes. But it was just a hard day, and day 5 postpartum, that's when a big hormonal shift is happening. I always say that's the hardest, and that's the day I always have those feelings of like, why did we have another baby? Why did we decide to do this? Or did we make the right decision? You know, that type of thing. It's okay to have those thoughts, and those thoughts will probably creep in at other times in your life, and it's okay to have those thoughts. It's okay to cry. It's okay to set baby down for just a few minutes and just go have a little cry. And after that, you know, you kind of regroup, reorient your brain, take a deep breath, drink some water, and you get back at it. I mean, being a parent, being a mom is challenging, but that doesn't mean it's bad. Challenges are good. They usually build character, so it's okay. But it's also okay to be overwhelmed sometimes. And that's a good time to reach out, I think, to your support group, whether that's your mom, in my case, or family, or really close friends. Hopefully you have a support group to kind of band around you and provide even just emotional support. I have a close friend that has been texting me every, I don't know, probably once a week. She'll just text me and see how I'm doing, because she doesn't live super close. She had her baby maybe a little longer than a year ago, and so I tried to text her every time I thought about it. I would text her and just see how she's doing, and that meant so much to me to have her text me, so hopefully it meant a lot to her to have me text her. Something else that it's okay to do, at least in my book, is to hold your baby 24/7. Granted, sometimes I get babied out and I hand him to hubby and just say, I need a minute. After that, I'm usually good. And if I can get my hands free with the wrap, I'm good. But it's okay to hold your baby. There used to be that old wives' tale of, oh, you spoil your baby if you hold him too much. But honestly, if you think about it, baby's been snuggled up in your womb for 9-10 months. They're not used to being alone in this big, bright, sometimes cold world. So you are their safety, you are their safe spot, you are their comfort. It's okay to hold them 24/7. Now you may get tired of that, but that's okay too. Give yourself a break. But if all you want to do is hold and snuggle and smell your baby, you do that. Because again, there's lots of studies out there that show the benefit of holding, caressing, and just loving on your baby, because it's a new and scary world for them, so you are their comfort and their safe spot. I read, this has been a while, this was first time postpartum I read this, but I read that babies, when they're less than 6 months old, they don't have wants. They don't have them. They have needs. They need to be held, they need to be fed, they need to be changed, and that's all they need. But that is a lot. It's a lot to do, especially if you're by yourself at home with your baby. I wanted to recommend this book too. It's called The First 40 Days, The Essential Art of Nourishing the New Mother. It's got recipes in it, which is the main reason I bought it. It's big on soups and broths and warm foods. Of course, you don't have to follow it to the T. It is more Eastern medicine, which is fine. You can follow it to the T. But it's kind of like protecting your confinement in the first 40 days. So what I did basically was the 5-5-5 rule, where for the first 5 days after baby's born, I didn't get out of bed unless it was to pee. I just stayed in bed and I just chilled. I hung out with my baby and I let the house become a complete wreck, which is okay because everything can just be cleaned up later. My parents came over and visited, and I had a few other visitors, but I tried to keep the visitors to a minimum, especially those first 5 days. I just stayed confined basically to my bedroom. This was my personal choice. No one made me do this. Sometimes people can feel like I'm telling them you need to do that. You do what works for you, but I find that this is very comforting, especially to heal the uterus, to heal that dinner plate size wound in your uterus where the placenta was attached. I relaxed. I tried to really take it easy those first 5 days, because as my midwife recommended, and as I've known from experience, the more you outdo yourself at the beginning, the longer your recovery will take. So I just took it easy. Had the kids come in there and hang out with me. We read books. We watched lots of Netflix. I took all expectations off of myself, you know, being a mom, being a stay-at-home mom, although I do work, but I stay at home most of the time. I'll let hubby take care of it, and if he didn't feel like doing it, then it didn't get done. I mean, you know what? It didn't kill us. The dishes piled up, the laundry piled up, but we took care of it after the first 5 days. And then the second 5 days, I kind of allowed myself to walk around a little bit, but still not doing any hard labor, the hard labor of being a mom. I didn't lift anything heavier than babe, drink my coffee, and I would come down for meals and stuff like that. I guess I should say that too in the first 5 days. Occasionally I would still come down for a meal because I think it's very important to eat meals together as a family, but for the most part, I saved that for the second 5 days. I would have a meal and then I would just plant myself on the couch and the kids would come and hang out, and I would hang out, and I would walk around just a little bit, just enough to keep the blood flowing or give my bottom a rest from sitting in the same position. And then the last 5 days, day 11 to 15, then I allowed myself to start getting back to normal, going outside a little bit, getting some fresh air, things like that. So I kind of incrementally increased my workload. But yeah, this first 40 days book, it's got great recipes in it, great advice. Feel free to follow what you want. Don't follow what you don't want. I'm going to talk about something that I have not really heard anyone else talk about, and I've not talked about it to anyone else besides my husband, because it's kind of weird, and I feel like if you don't experience it, you'll be like, what in the world? I didn't have it so much with my second and third, but I definitely had it with my first. And so I wanted to put this out there in case anyone else is feeling this. So with my first, anytime I was carrying her or moving her from like one position to another, like picking her up off the bed or setting her down or handing her to another person, I always had this weird flash of, if I drop her, her head's gonna explode and there's gonna be blood and brain and everything all over the place. And I don't know why I would get those like flashes in my head. It would be like a horror movie laying on the ground of like if I dropped my baby. And so I'm wondering if this is something innate that God plants in your head, especially for the first one, of, you know, just be careful when you're handling a baby so that you don't drop it. I don't know if anyone else has experienced these like weird horror flashes. I talked to my husband about it and asked, now this was months later because I didn't tell anyone about it because I thought it was weird, and asked him, you know, what do you think about that? What was with that? And he said, oh, I had a little bit of that kind of, and I was like, oh, you did? Okay, now I don't feel so bad, and it wasn't so weird. It's still kind of weird. I just want to put that out there. If you have these weird like flashes of, and it's not something that I wanted to do. I didn't want to drop my baby and see their head explode. It's just, it flashed in my head, and it's, you know, I just had this feeling of like, if you drop your baby, this will happen and it will be terrible. I mean, it would be terrible, but I don't know why I had such vivid visions of this, or like their soft spot, you know, their fontanelle. Of course, I'm a big caresser and I'll just nuzzle and feel their head, but I had this weird feeling of like, okay, don't stick your fingers in their soft spot or you'll give them brain damage or something like that. And that's totally like way off in left field, most extreme thing that could possibly happen. Again, I don't know if that's some sort of just like protective measure, some sort of weird motherly instinct to prevent you from hurting your baby, but it was strange. So if anyone else has that feeling, you are not alone. The last couple of things I wanted to leave you with, I never really struggled with this. Of course, I thought about it, but it's not something I would say I struggled with. A lot of moms worry about getting back to their pre-baby body. And what I would say to you is it took 9 months to put that weight on. Don't be afraid if it takes 9 months or longer to get that weight off. And honestly, for the first 6 months of my baby's life, basically the whole time they're exclusively breastfeeding, I don't even worry about it. I don't even think about it. I mean, I make sure I eat healthy, but I'm a healthy eater anyway. I don't worry about it. I don't worry about my weight. I don't worry about my body. I don't worry about how it looks. Of course, I want to look put together for like church and stuff. But I don't worry about pre-baby body. I don't even think about it. I save that all for when baby's well established in their breastfeeding routine. And it's just one thing to take off your plate that you don't need to think about while you're adjusting to life with a newborn. So speaking of which, I guess my closing thought that I wanted to leave you with is, you know, having a newborn is a change. It's an adjustment. It's finding your new normal. And even though this is number 3 baby for me, I still think the transition from no baby to 1 baby was the hardest, because now all of a sudden you have to think about a babysitter, you have to think about doctor's appointments, you have to think about a diet for somebody else. You have to start making decisions for this being that is now your responsibility. So that was like the biggest adjustment to make. The other thing I always say, you know, it's okay to mourn your babyless life. I miss not having to schedule a babysitter. I miss not being able to be a little more spontaneous and just drop things and go places and do things. I mean, we still do a lot of those things, but we just have to adjust a little bit. It takes a little more planning on our part. It's just a change and it requires adjustment. And so that's what I want to leave you with as we go through our postpartum life. So I hope this encouraged you, especially those new mamas out there, but even if you're a veteran mama, it's good to just have some solidarity with someone who's going through the same things you go through or have gone through. And you can just say, yeah, I felt like that too. That just brings such a sense of camaraderie and even boost your confidence a little bit, because you know, I'm not alone. Other people are going through this too. So I'll leave you with that, and I hope you have a great postpartum life.